Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Davo from Esports, bringing you another 1v1 StarCraft 2 cast today. This time on Korhal Compound, which is a brand new map added for Season 6 of the StarCraft 2 ladders. Excellent. In the bottom left-hand corner today, we have our Red Terran, who is SonG, who is a French player. He is 21, and at the time of this game being played, he was second in Grandmasters League. Usually his team is Hall of Heroes. Okay, so that is who we have in the bottom left-hand side. And if you guys have read the nameplate by now, you will know in the top right-hand corner up here we have White-Ra, who is a very, very well-known player indeed. He is Russian, and he is in his 30s as well, which makes him a pretty old player. He is an old player, but it doesn't make him bad by any means at all. He's known for his Warp Prism drop strategies primarily. I believe he's won quite a few things with those strategies indeed. But let's just talk a little bit about this map at the moment. So we do have Xel'Naga towers positioned both on the north and south of this kind of crater in the middle of the map. And basically I like to think of this as a kind of arena. The first time I actually played this map at the very beginning of Season 6, I was in a games room in London. So that was quite different. I was out of my own environment, which can be pretty scary, and I was playing on a map that I'd never played of again, and I lost. Excellent. Of course, I'm not the world's best player anyway, so there we go. Just a little bit of trivia about that good stuff. But what I wanted to say really was, in order to get to each other's bases effectively and really, really quickly, these players will have to go through the middle of the map, which can be very difficult on this particular map because there are Xel'Naga watchtowers either side of this great big dip. What I find players doing a lot is going around the side here. But I mean, generally speaking, as long as these watchtowers are held, you're really going to have to go quite a long way around to avoid being seen by them, which is kind of important. Watchtowers do play a large role on some of the maps in the map pool. This one in particular plays a huge role. Now we do have our Terran blocking in right here, I think they're saying the Heart of the Swarm will make Zerg in, but because there is that whole discussion that obviously people were saying Wings of Liberty, Terran are really, really good in Wings of Liberty because obviously it's their game. It's got Jim Raynor on the front of the cover and stuff like that. We do have both our players having a good old chin wag, as some of us Brits would say. But at the moment it does look like mainly just White-Ra talking as SonG gets into his game, slides down into his chair and gets ready to play. Or as I thought maybe, perhaps. Oh, here we go. So now we're having... Oh, he thought that Protoss couldn't speak and play at the same time. Strange. So that's some very mild BM coming White-Ra's way. But I'm sure there is no intentional harm done there because I believe these two are fairly good friends and they've played many, many, many times before. White-Ra as well is actually one of apparently the most mana gamers out there. He's really nice, really, really personable. He tries his hardest to get on with everyone, or at least that's what I've heard. So we do have a Reaper coming now in from SonG into White-Ra's base. This sentry will have to be careful, or maybe not, as the probes do get a couple of zaps and tip the balance into the sentry's favour. But one-on-one, usually a sentry, I believe, loses to a Reaper. I may not be too right in saying that, but the Reaper jumps straight down the cliff and gets fed straight into that Stalker's mouth. One thing that I've always wondered about Stalkers, and this might seem pretty thought-provoking to some of you. Okay, so Stalkers have tiny little kind of T-Rex arms, okay, just underneath their legs. You can't see it because it's behind a tree. There we go. Those are its T-Rex arms. How does he manage to put that funky face mask on? I've always wanted to know. It doesn't look like the Stalker will be losing his life as well as his funky face mask. Not even the funky face mask remaining, just a little bit of shrapnel fell off that Stalker there. After being engaged by those two Marauders, which are of course very, very good against Stalkers indeed. I believe Marauders get a bonus against Armoured. And they've got the concussive shells ability, which makes them very deadly to our Zealot unit here that we have running back into White Ra's base now. Both players expanding at around the 7-minute mark, which is fairly standard for a professional level game like this, really. Oh yeah, by the way, I don't think I mentioned, White Ra at the time of this game being played was he was second in Masters League on the European server. This is, by the way, so this is a ladder game from the European server between SonG and White Ra. Just to recap, yay, excellent. Okay, so we do have some Zealots and Sentries coming up now as well. This can be a very, very effective play from a Protoss player, but you just do have to make sure that the Sentries drop the force fields in exactly the right places, otherwise you can have a really, really big problem on your hands. Generally speaking, the Zealot Sentries mix works really, really nicely when you can get force fields behind Marines and Marauders, and then you can really let the Zealots do their damage without the Marines and Marauders walking away. Generally speaking, there's a small army here from SonG does look like it will be taken down fairly quickly, and that is freaking cool. That little suit in the middle of the map. Generally speaking, I'm not entirely sure White Ra should be too worried about this little detachment that's just been sent out by SonG. It does look like they'll just be scouting a little bit anyway, just seeing if there is any funny business going on, like an early third or a hidden second from White Ra. This Marine even is going to lose his life to that Stalker. And there we go, so there is the first small engagement of the game. This Marine is running home to his base, of course being trailed by an Observer, who's going to see quite a strong bio build going down. A starport switching onto a reactor that was built from a factory, pretty standard play. It's going to be spawning lots and lots of medevacs, of course, to keep Marines and Marauders alive in the coming minutes of the game. Obviously, I know how long the game is, but I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know who's going to win. But my original point was, StarCraft games usually only last under an hour, so you can't really say the coming hours, it's really the coming minutes. Hooray. Okay, so we do have another medevac on the way as well, and it does look like we'll have a drop coming in from SonG right now as well, which could be very, very effective at this point in time, especially if White Ra is still rallying his units down here on the low ground. He has a Colossus out as well, which is pretty standard play from a Protoss to get a nice and early Colossus. That's why lots of Terrans do like to get their Vikings out pretty quickly, which of course can attack Colossus as an anti-air unit. And if you land Vikings, they're pretty much useless. Just on the side note there, or at least that is my opinion. I mean, you can land them quite effectively for harassment moves, but generally speaking, I wouldn't use them in any real capacity, as they're fairly weak, despite they look really cool. As a ground unit, they're fairly weak, as I was saying. So we do have this drop continuing to come in here. Some Stalkers here from White Ra that do look like, although they're ready. Of course, he probably did scout that with the Observer that he has in SonG's base. So he probably knows what is actually on the way. And it can be very, very satisfying indeed when you can hold off any sort of medvac drop like this pretty instantaneously. But unfortunately, White Ra moving the Stalkers away, and he's going to be allowing quite a lot of Marines and Marauders to land here. And if there were more forces being walked in for White Ra at the moment, this could turn into a pretty sticky situation. Quite a lot of the army being pulled back from White Ra now in order to try and take care of this. There is also a Colossus out, but the Colossus will have to be kind of careful of these guys on the ground here, as Stim could make them close on the Colossus very, very quickly indeed. I mean, two more Colossus down there as well, so it's not a good time to be a Marine and Marauder on the ground. These Stalkers here do look like they'll be taking out the medvacs, perhaps. Ooh, just escaping. Yep, the medvac's just... No! Oh, that little ledge nearly got the medvac there. So, almost escaping with their lives there, but it does look like this army will get cleaned up, as it has just bumped into two Colossus, 4 Zealots, 3 Stalkers, and 2 Sentries, which is a fairly large Protoss force for this stage in the game. It's a rather impressive force, actually. It's not bad at all. We do have a Zealot down here as well, making sure that another expansion doesn't land too much, but this is a pretty fearsome Terran army as well, keeping in mind that Terran armies are generally speaking pretty good in the early mid-game. They're quite strong. Colossus, though, can eat away pretty quickly at a Marine and Marauder ball like this. Unfortunately, the Colossus go down, much thanks to the Vikings on that one. The Colossus don't last very long at all there. And White Ross Pylon going down here as well, so he won't be able to walk anything in a forward kind of way at this point in time. He is pulling his Observer back a little bit. Perhaps anticipating a kind of an attack to happen soon, which I don't blame him for anticipating. He is thoroughly on the back foot now. It's a worrying time. He does have another expansion up on his opponent, but that battle was a flat out loss, so he will have to re-macro pretty hard, and that of course is what White Riot is doing, because as I said earlier, he is a very, very experienced player indeed. Making another Colossus to build up the grand total into 3 Colossus and 2 Zealots. You know the mix basically. Okay, so if we just do a quick upgrade, have a look at the upgrades. The Zealots for White Ra have 1 weapons, and SonG's Troopers have 1 weapons and 1 armor. Awesome. It does look like we're going to have a kind of map-long pincer attack here, as SonG does go for an attack on the left-hand side on this Nexus right now as well. He's going to be trying to take out quite a lot of this stuff. If he does try and focus down the Nexus, I think he should be able to get it down. This army, on the other hand, moving in pretty quickly as well from the easterly direction. It does look like they'll be taking the Xel'Naga Tower. That Nexus does go down for White Ra, which cannot be useful at all, seeing as his opponent is just getting up his 3rd now. Oh, and here is a big engagement in the middle, just next to the Xel'Naga Tower. These Marines and Marauders on the left here are getting a really, really nice flanking maneuver in. White Ra dropping a couple of pretty nice force fields there to try and stop that from happening. But unfortunately, it doesn't like to be getting cleared up by the Marines and Marauders of SonG right now. This Viking as well, unfortunately, is going to be taking down this Colossus for White Ra. And it does look like White Ra is going to have to GG out of this, and he has, giving his opponent a well played and leaving the game. Ouch! It can always be a difficult situation for a Protoss when they lose that first key battle in the game. Never good at all. SonG's play was actually really, really nice. He did some really nice pincer attacks as well, or at least what I would consider a pincer attack. Moving in here while his main army was stationed over here as well. It gave him an edge. I believe that when the Colossus were here and the Marine and Marauder ball that was taking out the Nexus moved in from the left of the Colossus and began to take them out, that really aided SonG in that battle indeed. Really, really, really good play by SonG there. Alright guys, so thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed the cast today. If you did, leave a comment, subscribe, or like the video. Have a nice day, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Enjoy playing StarCraft. Goodbye.